Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and teaching pastor at Northview Church in Carmel, Indiana, one of the 20 largest churches in America. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here, and welcome to Life Recovery Today. Ever wonder what's going on in Wabash, Indiana? Well, the Scalfanis are here to tell us all about that. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about one of the great laws of life recovery. And in the 12 laws of life recovery, we say that this thing called faith, this requirement of faith, will lead us to hope. That's where faith leads us. Let me give you a scripture that we base this on. And it's talking in Romans 5:3-5 about a progression, which is what recovery is all about. From step to step, phase to phase. And it says this: we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials. And we're going to do that forever, some more than others. And I've always been so irritated when people quote Romans 8:28 right after a tragedy, even though it's true, that God works everything together for the good, but don't use that too quickly. So I've been irritated when people throw that out there, but sure am glad that it's absolutely true. All of these problems and these trials, God's going to take it, and if we'll trust Him and have that faith, we can be assured He's going to blend it all in and work together for our good. But it says that we know that all of these things that we go through help us to develop endurance, and that this endurance develops strength of character. Character strengthens our confident hope of salvation, and this hope will not lead to disappointment. For we know how dearly God loves us because He's given us the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with His love. My son Solomon is in a marching band here in Carmel, Indiana. And for 600 hours I watched them. Well, I didn't watch all 600, but I watched how hard they worked and practiced for 600 hours. I didn't know bands did that. And as a result of all that hardship, the endurance that they built up, the ability to play well and march at the same time, well, the other day they were named second best band in the entire nation, and they'll be playing at the Macy's Day Parade next year. They would have never had any hope of being anything if they hadn't endured those tough hardships of 600 hours of practice. I believe that, well, we'll never be first or perfect or whatever, but whatever place we're in, if we maintain that faith, we've got hope that Jesus is going to do something pretty amazing with it. And that's what recovery's all about. I'll be back in just a minute.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. Joe and Carol Scalfani are my guests today. And thanks, guys, for driving from Wabash, Indiana. How long have you been over there?
We've been there since June of 2020.
And you run New Beginnings, which is a residential center for men. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And how'd you end up in Wabash?
Well, definitely was a God thing. I had been working in manufacturing for many years, went to seminary, started a recovery ministry in Colorado, and felt the call to be in full-time ministry. Had been applying for many jobs in ministry, and just before COVID hit, saw this one on a job board, a Christian job board, applied for it, then COVID hit, and I was about ready to give up the search, and they called me, and we did a Zoom interview, then they flew me out here, and I accepted the position.
Here you are.
Yeah, we within 30 days we sold a house, bought a house, and moved out here.
Awesome. And I suspect that you being head of the Recovery Center, New Beginnings, isn't a result of you doing graduate work in how to help men recover. Is that? I suspect you've got a story.
Yes, sir.
And Carol, you guys been married, what, 37 years?
36.
36 years?
Yeah, he has a better number count.
He did. Okay. And when you guys got married, did you know that there was any kind of problem before you got married with him?
No.
Didn't know?
No.
And was there before you got married?
Oh, yes.
Okay. How did you hide that from her?
Oh, years of practice. I was a good manipulator. Where we both were at that time, to some other people, it might have been a little more obvious, but we were both in the right place for the right disaster.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what year did you begin recovery, and what year did you begin recovery?
Well, I actually began recovery in 92, but I've been sober since 93.
92, sober since 93. And how about you?
What year did I start recovery? I think when we started the ministry is when I really started, 2005.
Uh-huh. Okay. And between his first meeting and your first meeting, were you just kind of making it up as you go along and trying to help him, or was that a really tough time?
I know I had tried 2 Al-Anon meetings when we first started, but otherwise I just guess I thought it was his problem.
Yeah.
I didn't know everything that was involved with it, or did I know anything about my condition?
Yeah. And what helped you see that it wasn't just his problem, but it was impacting you and you were impacting him? How did that come about?
It came about in the ministry, and I didn't really want to be involved because I would have to listen to people's stories, and that's hard.
Yeah.
But that wasn't what God had planned. So what I actually heard was myself talking and all these other people saying about the way they behaved and just about their life. And God kept opening my eyes to say, well, your life wasn't exactly like that, Carol, but you do A, B, and C,
yeah.
D, and F, Z plus.
Yeah, right.
And that's when it started, was because other people were telling me my life.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So you went long enough to where you didn't give up, you kept going, even though it wasn't something you were thrilled about, and then it starts to kind of sink in.
Slowly, yes.
And I'm so sad that so many people don't do that. They don't persevere long enough for some things to kind of break through the denial and resistance and all of that. Joe, when it was at the worst part or point of addiction for you, the devastation, what was life like then? How bad did it get?
On the surface, it probably didn't look horrible. I was in the Army. I was fairly successful with the military, but our life together was starting to crumble. We were fighting a lot, and I deep down inside I knew for years that I was an alcoholic, but not ready to do anything about it. So I was good at manipulating and faking, but it just got to the point where Carol said to me at one point that she didn't want to live with a drunk anymore, which I in my mind meant that she was going to leave because I didn't have a problem. She had a problem with me. I didn't have a problem with.
And you genuinely, at the worst point, before she said, "I don't want to live with the drunk anymore," genuinely, you didn't think you had a problem.
It's kind of a contradictory answer. I knew I was an alcoholic, but I didn't think it was a problem.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
You knew you were different.
Yeah.
But you didn't think it was a problem.
Right. I knew for many years I couldn't not drink.
Yeah.
I knew that.
But it was okay.
But it was.
You had it under control.
It was normal. That's what my family did from the time I was born. My parents were both that way. That's just what we did. We just drank.
Yeah. And her statement was kind of the wake-up
Somewhat,
call?
Yeah.
And I'm just focusing on that for a minute because I just want people to hear that if you're living with someone that's got a problem, trying to keep the peace, trying to keep things going and not ever bring up anything that's going to cause a problem, you may have within you the words that cause that turnaround, that cause the person to stop and go, whoa, I guess I'm wrong about this. And she said something, and then now you realize, oh, not only am I an alcoholic, but it's a problem that I'm an alcoholic. I'm not in total control. So what'd you do?
Well, I called a friend who I knew was in recovery. He was going to NA meetings, and I had told him that I think I needed to go to some of those meetings that you go to, and he was there. It was kind of like one of those cartoons where you do something and then a second later it happens.
Yeah.
Of course, it wasn't quite that quick, but he was there, took me to my first meeting, went to this AA meeting, have no idea what they said. It was pretty emotional and difficult at that point, but I kept going to those meetings and kept trying to do what they said. There was a lot of good things that they said in the beginning. One old timer just said, "No matter what happens today, don't pick up a drink." And that kind of stuck with me. Another old guy invited me back. He said he needed help making coffee, which he didn't, but that was his way of getting me to come back to the meetings. And I came back to help him make coffee, and I kept going to the meetings.
I love it, and I really do. I'm just grateful that you said what you did and then you responded in that way. I have a similar story. My wife said to me one day, "Do you think you might be an alcoholic?" And I said to her, I've been wondering about that. Now, a lot of alcoholics hate to hear this story because, I just quit, It was the last, and so I literally was able to evaluate the fact I'd never had a drunk driving. I didn't get drunk and stuff, but my tolerance was going up.
Right.
And I knew that was not a good thing, that eventually I wouldn't be able to control it. And so because of what she said, I did a little assessing like you did, and I never drank again. And again, I'm saying this to encourage people that are around folks with a problem to speak up, say something, don't protect yourself. Well, I mean, if there's imminent danger, of course, but really we need folks to present some reality to us. In all of the recovery that Joe went through, Carol, what was the toughest thing? Can you think of something that was really hard for you to grasp, understand, do, or a time that was really difficult? Anything come to mind?
When he found out about his mother.
What was that about?
That's when Joe found out through some counseling that he was abused by his mother. He had memory loss all those years.
Wow.
And that changed everything in our life. I'd say everything. And that's when I became more involved in recovering myself. I started to see a counselor. He's seen about 1,000 counselors. We went to counseling together. It's been a long road.
Well, I want to take a break. When we come back, I want to see how that changed everything. That must have been absolutely devastating. You are listening and watching our Life Recovery Today program, and I hope and pray that something we might say could give you some hope, maybe some healing. If you need help, it's 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'll be back right after this.
It's hard to find a trusted friend when you're in crisis. Someone who's been there and understands, but who also has the training and skill to give you practical help. Family, friends, and churches want to help, but often they're not equipped to care for those dealing with problems like addiction and pornography, infidelity, anger, depression. New Life Ministries is here to provide help and hope in life's hardest places. We're not focused on making people feel better. We're focused on helping people do the work that will help them be better. At New Life, we have resources available to help you, like books, DVDs, CDs, workshops, and our network of licensed counselors. If you need help, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and begin your new life today.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. Joe and Carol Scalfani. And before the break, devastating thing, you discover that down deep there somewhere, all those years, a memory had been hidden. Now, we always talk about people discovering memories. We hear about false memories being created by evil therapists and stuff. But this was real. Your mother had sexually abused you. How did that change everything for you two?
Oh my gosh. First of all, for me, it put me into a spiral. I was 15 years clean and sober at that point. I was in the middle of seminary, and it just threw me for a loop. Our marriage was on the rocks. I mean, it was horrible. We were just fighting. I wasn't able to be a good husband to Carol at all. There was just so much going on inside of me at that point.
What was going on inside of you? What was the turmoil? Was it, how could she do this, or what was actually there?
It was all that. There was how could she do this? How could God let this happen? What's wrong with me? There was the shame, everything that goes along with that kind of discovery in there. Anger, frustration. I didn't want anything to do with her. I didn't want anything to do with anybody at that point. I wanted to just withdraw, pretend it didn't happen. It was very, very devastating.
I'm so sorry. And how did that impact you? What was your reaction to that? Was it compassion, anger, what separation? How did you react?
Compassion. Anger came out of his behavior. Anger came out of my own choices in life, and I put myself in this situation. Of course, you don't look at it that way beforehand, but then you have to realize that's what you've done. Yeah. And it's only God that kept us together, because if I was leaving, he was staying. If he was leaving, I was. It was God and the fact that we were deeply involved in church and in the ministry. That was a glue that held us together in spite of everything that was going on. If it wasn't for the groups that I supposedly led, but which were really leading me, and one person in the group did finally say to me, "You have to go get help just for yourself," because we had gone for help together, try everything, and I saw a counselor separately who was very helpful for me. The main thing I learned about was that I truly am hyperactive, and my mind does not work right, and he gave me ways to learn to control my thinking process, which I still work on, but it made a very big difference and our life was up, down, front, back, in, out, and God holding it together.
What were one of the things that impacted your thought life, or the way that you were thinking? Do you remember what something specific was that really helped?
Something that really helped was probably the word stop. And it's taken me a long time to get to stop. And that makes a huge difference, because then frustration does not, I don't go from 0 to 2,000 before you know I've left. And I've grown to be able to stop and think before I do respond instead of react. And
that's huge right there.
Oh.
And how did you recover from that? I mean, you were in recovery from alcohol, but now you had something else to overcome.
And it's been a process that I think will go on for the rest of my life. I sought counseling, and when this came out, we were seeing a marriage counselor, and I think we totally surprised him when this came out during one of those sessions. Kind of shocked us all in some ways. So I sought counsel with some different counselors, and I finally found a lady who specialized in counseling adults with childhood sexual abuse. She was a great help. And then I believe it was on one of the New Life Live shows, I heard about
brain optimization.
Brain optimization. And I went to some brain optimization sessions. And that was a tremendous help. That really did a lot to help turn things around here. And then I got involved with Dan Allender and his program. And I actually went out there for a recovery week a few years back.
Well, what I'm hearing is that you were solidly into recovery. New revelation comes about, and you didn't just dig in harder to what you were doing. You knew this was something that required additional resources, and you got those resources. And one of the tragic things is how much help is available for people, and they don't think that they need it, or they won't access it. And I think your story is a strong story of what willingness can do every time. Willingness, humble willingness over and over again. Because whenever we're not denying or numbing or whatever, it's pretty incredible what we may uncover. And boy, did you ever uncover something. What would be a key thing that helped you to go from devastation to getting back? I mean, you're never going to be exactly the same as something like this, but back on track. What would a key thing be?
Oh, gosh. Just knowing that, it took a little bit of time in the beginning to really get into gear and seeing what a downward spiral it was going to take me on.
Yeah.
In my mind, it would put everything in jeopardy. My recovery from alcohol and drugs, everything that I had been working so hard on, it would put it in jeopardy. Even porn addiction, I've had freedom from that since 2005. So, all of that stuff was in jeopardy, as was our relationship and anything else. And I didn't want to go back to where I was.
Yeah.
I was in a much better place.
Right.
And I think it's God's grace that it happened when it did, even though it was devastating. I was in a much better place to handle what happened.
I'm just so grateful that you were already on a path, and then this comes up, and both of you were able to kind of step up your game and get the need met. Now you're serving together, you're helping people, you're working with men at New Beginnings. You say you might cook for them every now and then. You're not part exactly of the program, but you love those men. And that, I mean, it really is incredible what God can do if we're willing to do our part. And you've been willing to do that. So somebody that they're struggling, things are tougher than they thought. What do you say to someone in that situation?
Work through it, and also surround yourself with people that can help. I was in a men's group at that time, and none of those men knew how to help me necessarily with what I was going through.
Sure.
But they could be there and love me through it and just be a part of my life. So, surrounding yourself with other people. When Jesus brought Lazarus back to life, he had the community around there help him.
Yeah.
Help him be loose from those clothes. We need that community. We need that recovery community, that church community. Even if people don't necessarily understand what it is, we need them. We need them to help us through that.
And for you, the spouse, what do you say to somebody that has come alongside and this is what you've got, you got to deal with it? What do you say to that person who's discouraged?
Fix yourself and don't leave.
Don't leave, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing what God can do, and I'm glad He's doing so much through you. Maybe something here would be encouraging to you. You persevere with God. You let that enduring spirit that comes from the supernatural power of the Holy Spirit fill you. You never give up. Especially don't give up on God, because God has not given up on you. That's for sure. Take a break and come right back after this.
Life recovery isn't just about making the courageous choice to give up an addiction or dependency. It's a journey towards health, wholeness, and becoming your very best you. If you need resources to help you in your journey, we can help. There are many life recovery resources that you can do on your own, with a group, or with your church. We have Bibles, workbooks, and devotionals that you can use to work your recovery right where you are. That's the beauty of life recovery. To learn more or to get the Life Recovery Bible or any other life recovery resource, visit liferecoverytoday.net or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. You know, the paradoxes of recovery are absolutely astounding. You want to have victory? Surrender. You want to experience power like you've never felt it before? Admit you're powerless over this one thing, which will also lead you to realize you're powerless over a lot of other things. And your powerlessness isn't helplessness. It leads us to inviting the amazing supernatural power of God to transform our lives. That's what we love to see. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you next time right here, same time, same place, for more Life Recovery Today. In the meantime, just surrender.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to liferecoverytoday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.